Number two, so don't do that either, girls. It doesn't work very well. If you combine overwhelm, too much stuff to do, with putting it off, it's you imagine where it's going to end up. It's not going to get you whatever results you say you want to get in the HSC. So, strategy number three, sabotage, self-sabotage. I love the word sabotage. So, because I'm not a history teacher, like Mrs. Viera or Mr. Bridges, I tend to make up things, and normally it works quite well. So here's my history of sabotage. Way back in the Industrial Revolution, they started building machines that did the stuff that the farmers did way quicker. So they would build like a tractor, and the tractor could pull the shovelly things that dig up dirt. That's a technical term, shovelly thing. And the shovelers, the guys, are looking at this tractor going, man, that thing's going to take my job. Because I've got a shovel and I can dig like a hole in a day, but this thing can rip up a hole in like an hour and it's going to take my job. So what these guys would do is that they would sabotage the tractor by doing something to it to break it down. They would deliberately break it down so that it would work. So then the farmer, the business owner, comes and goes, right, I'm going to start on my tractor and start digging holes, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, it's broken. What do you mean it's broken? It's not working. But us, we've got our shovels and we're ready to keep going, so why are you going to trust that? It's another way of saying you basically muck up your own efforts to do something that's better and greater than you. Let me put this into the context of something you might be familiar with. So you get an assignment. You've got lots of assignments because you're already overwhelmed by all the assignments, and you've been procrastinating a bit, but you say, you know what, that's it, I'm doing it. I'm going to do the assignment. And you look at yourself in the mirror, and in my case I go, Marcel, you're doing it. Why are you doing it? You know that feeling? And you have this discussion with yourself where you're going, I'm actually going to do it. You go, right, I'm going to do it. And you get your assignment and you sit down, and you go, I need to clean up the kitchen. You know what? I'll clean up the kitchen first, because it's a mess. There's cockroaches on it. Look at that wine glass. It's just balancing there. It's going to fall off. I'll clean up the kitchen. Don't worry, Mum, Dad. You guys chill out. I've got the kitchen. Right? And you go, and you make this agreement. You've just made a new agreement with yourself where you say, I'll do my assignment after I've cleaned up the kitchen. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So you clean up the kitchen. And the kitchen's beautiful. It's the best the kitchen has ever looked since the house was built. And you're looking around and go, okay, I want to do my assignment now because the kitchen's clean, right? I've done the thing that I said I was going to do. And you sit down and you go, right, I'm starting the assignment. I'm a bit hungry. All that kitchen cleaning took it out of me and now I'm feeling a bit flat. I better start eating something because otherwise I'll do my assignment after I eat. And so I better cook. Don't worry, Mum, Dad, I'll cook something now. And you start cooking. Because you're hungry, and you justify it to yourself over and over again because you know it's the right thing to do to cook. You need to eat. Otherwise you can't work, right? So you cook an awesome meal, which leaves another mess in the kitchen, but we'll get to that afterwards. So you got this awesome meal, and you sit down and eat, and now you're satisfied. The kitchen's clean, you've eaten your meal, and you sit down to your assignment now, except that you're feeling a bit tired. So you go, I'll watch one episode of my favourite show. Because I'm a bloke, I watch stuff like the wrestling. You know the wrestling? The guys where they wear the tights and they beat. For me, it's like The Bold and the Beautiful, or like Grey's Anatomy with like punch-ups at the end. And because I'm a bloke, I relate to it really well. So I'll watch the wrestling. And you think, I've just watched one episode of my favourite show, and when I've done that, then I'll start my assignment. No more putting it off. So you sit down to watch the thing, and of course the show finishes and you go, okay, have I got any other excuse that I can come up with? Because I'm living well below the line here and I'm trying to blame everything else, so I'm not taking any responsibility. And you finally go, no, I'm going to do it. And you sit down and you think, I'm a bit tired now, I don't think I can do this. I'll start tomorrow. That is self-sabotaging. And you know what happens when you wake up tomorrow and that assignment's still there? You've just created overwhelm because you've now got more work to do that you didn't have that night, and all of a sudden it's piled up. And when you waste time, you're doing procrastination, and you've got Viera's top 3 stuff to not do to help you in the HSC. Overwhelm, procrastination, self-sabotage. Who knows self-sabotage pretty well? Who's had a few games of self-sabotaging? I have. We all have, because it's human behaviour. So don't do it. It's not so much that you shouldn't do it because it doesn't get you the result. The problem is this. It creates stress. Right? Who knows stress? Some people, the stressful people, are kind of putting their head up like this so no one sees them. Everyone's like, I know it really well. I know stress really, really well. Stress. Can I just check in? Who enjoys stress? Does anyone really like the feeling of stress? Okay, because if everyone puts their hand up, yes, and this kind of falls apart. But given the understanding that none of us really like stress that much, it helps to understand where stress comes from. So, again, because I'm not a history teacher, this is Viera's dodgy version of history, so, don't look it up because the facts are going to be wrong. But roughly, give or take, we used to have dinosaurs, big angry monsters, when we were cavemen and women. So, part of our mechanism, it's almost like God said to us, I want you to stick around for a few more 1,000 years, so I'm going to create something in you called stress. And stress is designed to help you stay alive. Because when a dinosaur comes to eat you, procrastinating is not really a good option. Looking at the dinosaur going, I might deal with you later, the dinosaur, you're already gone. Okay, so that strategy doesn't work. So what stress does is that it floods our system with a whole heap of chemicals and so on, one of them being adrenaline. But it's kind of, you need to be ready to either fight this thing to stay alive or get the hell out of there to stay alive, but either way it's about staying alive, right? Because if you haven't got something in your system to really fire you up, to get your heart beating, to get your muscles tense, to do something about it, you're going to freeze and you're going to procrastinate or self-sabotage and you're dead. Big Chompy over there has got you eaten up. And that same chemical reaction goes through our body when we get an assignment. And so we've got this assignment or this task or this assessment or whatever it is, and we do the same strategy for what we used to do when dinosaurs were around, because it's kind of part of our human nature. So now not only have you got all the extra work to do and you're putting stuff off, you're also dealing with stress. And when you let the stress build up enough, then you start getting anxious about stuff, because now you're stressing about dinosaurs that aren't even around that you think might happen, and then you get anxious about it. All of which does not help you do your best in the HSC. You can't do your best. I can tell you, I do not clean the kitchen up very well when I'm stressed and wound up. I turn into a real pain in the bum. Ask my wife. Like husbands will appreciate this when your wife looks at you and says, I think you better go for a bit of a walk. That's code for get the hell out of the house because you've been an idiot. I get that all the time. And not all the time, I'm getting better at it now. Some of the time. Because in a state of stress, we're just not handling the stuff that's coming our way really resourcefully. Does that make sense? So, given that overwhelm and procrastination and self-sabotage and stress aren't really conducive to you doing your best, and given that, in order for you to do your best, you've got to be living above this line that we spoke about, where you're being responsible for yourself. What does work? Here's the first thing that works. It's up to you to keep your energy levels up. My girls have got Skylanders, the video game Skylanders. It's got these little characters, and the characters have this energy bar. And the energy bar, when it starts off in the game, is full. It's like 100%. And it can run around and fight all these other things, and it just does everything really well. But then it starts to get tired, and the energy starts to go down. And it gets down to a point where it says, hey, you need to kind of do something to look after me, because otherwise I'm going to run out of energy. And it's really funny, because at the point where it's completely run out of energy and it's flat, the game just stops, and the character looks at you and says, sorry, I'm out. It just stops. And then you've got to replace it or turn the game off and start again because it's completely out of energy. When you are stressed and you've got all the other stuff and you've got no energy to do it, girls, it's just not going to happen. All you do is build more stress and more overwhelm and more of the other stuff that we spoke about. So it's up to you to make sure that you charge yourself up, whatever that means. And by charging yourself up, here are some common things that you need to do. This might surprise some of you, but you need to sleep. Seriously, you need to sleep. Our human body is designed that it recovers when you are sleeping. So when you do all-nighters to do all your assignments, and you stay up and up and up and up and up, eventually your body just goes, stuff you, you're not paying attention, I'm just going to break down on you. And sadly, we end up with girls that are in hospital on a drip because they're pushing so hard that their body's just going into no more. It's like, really? Aren't you on a roller coaster ride that's meant to be fun and you end up like in hospital because you're breaking down? It's not meant to be like that. You need to sleep. Another thing that you need to do, girls, is you need to eat. Surprisingly, you need to eat, and you need to eat well. If you don't eat well, you don't give yourself the nourishment and the nutrition that your body needs to have energy in the first place. So I used to do go-karting, again because I'm a bloke, right? So I used to do go-kart racing, love the go-karts. And one of the things that made the difference with these go-karts when you race them, again, competitively, is the fuel that you put into them. They haven't got a lot of variables, they're quite a simple machine, but the fuel, the petrol, is something really important. And the serious go-karters would buy different types of petrol and test their engine out to see which one gave the most performance, because the better petrol gives you better performance. They're not putting the cheap E10 stuff in there, they're going like top of the line, whatever the most expensive one is, that's going into my engine to get the most out of it. And the reason they do that is because it means that their go-kart is going to do the things that they want it to do and go faster. And our bodies operate on a similar type of thing, where the fuel that you put into your system is going to determine how much output you're getting out of your engine. And if you put really shonky fuel in there, you're not going to get much out of yourself. And we see girls, and they'll come across from the BP, and they've got like a can of Red Bull and a Mars bar, and they'll say, hey, what are you doing? I'm having breakfast. Oh, breakfast? Yeah, I've already had an ice cream as well. Oh, good. You're really looking after yourself. Yeah, I was super hungry. I stayed up all night, so I'm pretty flat. Huh. And I'm looking at them going, so you haven't slept, and you're not eating properly. What are you expecting to get out of yourself? Oh, 6-period day, I'm full on today. Really busy. And I'll check in on them later, and we get to about recess, and they're already asleep. So they're sitting in class, and their eyes are literally closing down on them because they can't keep themselves awake, because your body is looking at you going, all right, your body's got this mechanism where it's got your well-being as its top priority, and it doesn't care about your assignment, it cares about your heart beating, it cares about your lungs breathing. So it looks at it and goes, do I need to keep your heart breathing? Yes. Do I need to keep your lungs breathing? Yes. Do I need to keep you blinking? No, not really. All right, let's just close your eyes. And your body just goes, and that's where you find yourself, where the person next to you taps you on the side saying, hey, wake up. And you can, how come I'm falling asleep? Well, because you haven't slept, and then you're having a can of Red Bull and a Mars bar for breakfast, and a garlic bread for recess, if they don't run out of the canteen. So your nutrition and your sleep, girls, is something simple that you can do to keep yourself charged up. Here's another couple of things. Whatever it is that helps you relax, do it. So if that means that you come home and watch a television show because it just helps you unwind and it charges you up a little bit, do it. Allow yourself the time and the space to do whatever it is that you need to do to relax, with the understanding that by doing that, you're able to move forward and do the things that you need to do afterwards. But trying to push yourself like a robot is not going to work, because you're not a robot and you're human, right? So at some point, your body just gives out on you. So recharge your batteries. Like, hands up if you've got a mobile phone. Hands up, okay, so basically everyone. Hands up if you make sure that that phone is charged up. I do. So I've got this routine where I go to bed, I give my wife a kiss and a cuddle, and then I go, hold on a second, and I check that my phone's charging, because in the morning I need this thing to be working at 100%, because I do so many things on my phone. And so many of us look after the needs of our phone better than we look after ourselves. So if you want to get the best out of yourself, it is up to you, it's your responsibility to do the things that you need to do to look after your body, because ultimately this is what's letting you do all the other stuff anyway. So if you abuse it and you run it down, there's no way you can get the best out of yourself. Does that make sense, girls? And parents? Yeah. Parents, something really importantly, and you'll get a sheet later on tonight that's got a couple of suggested activities for you to have a discussion with. Sometimes your daughters are doing something that's actually charging them up, and you come home from work and you look at them and you say, geez, you've been bloody lazy, you've been watching the television. And perhaps they've been at school all day, and they've worked really hard that day, and they come home and they just need to switch off a little bit just to recharge. All right? It's different if that's all they do, if they sit there and watch television all night, or they're on Facebook or YouTubing or whatever they're doing. But check in on with them and just say, hey, look, are you procrastinating, or are you self-sabotaging, or are you just genuinely charging up? And sometimes if they say to you, hey, I just need time to chill out, sometimes it really means they just need to chill out. And only you know your daughters well enough to calibrate that to know whether you can push them in more, or whether you kind of go, okay, we'll just let you chill for a bit. All right? Ultimately, however, it's up to you girls, the students, to judge that for yourself.